What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Today, we are so back. Yes, we are so back because the last Reddit video that I did way better than anything else on this channel. So as a content creator, what do you do if a certain type of video outperforms everything else by a long mile? Of course, you just start mass producing that shit. Even though the last video got some really good views, I did not get any type of recommendations which subreddit to go on next. So I myself started thinking about it, and I figured the most logical next step would be to go on r/bodybuilding. If you want me to keep scouring through Reddit, I will keep doing that. Trust me, it is easy. How to get lower back and obliques to pop more. Bro has some really crazy arms on him. Let's see. Yeah, just calorie deficit, dude. Just calorie deficit. You seem to be pretty chunky, but you got some insane arms on you. No homo. Under 4 weeks out, feeling like a zombie. Brother, you are set to win that show. I did not think that I'm gonna come on this subreddit and just make myself feel like shit about my own physique. How many here do bodybuilding and have friends who also do it with you? Do you find this helps with adherence and discipline? I'm curious of the experience of those who step on stage and are the odd one out of their friends and family, essentially having to do it solo with no help or push from peers that understand and have similar goals, versus those of us who have friends who are also into bodybuilding, keeping us accountable and supporting with empathy and understanding. I'm not someone that steps on stage, but like I said in the other video, I think in general, if you need someone to keep you in check, then you're not in it for the long run anyways. People that hire coaches and stuff is literally so many of them. The coach is more important for the peak. Now, these professionals that have coaches just nonstop, it's usually also because a lot of them have really good sponsorships, and some people get free coaching if you're like an elite level bodybuilder. The coaches will just do it for the portfolio, but most people, they get the coaching for the drugs and the peak. The athlete always makes the coach doesn't make the athlete, because you cannot convince someone to do something they don't want to do. You really can't, unless you have a weapon. Wayflation. Protein is too expensive. All right. I've been working out for many years, and I was shocked when I looked at restocking for protein. For 27 servings, it's hard to find anything less than $50. They say short supply and high demand is what's driving this. What's actually happening, food companies are buying 3 to 4x as much now and just pass the price to their consumers. Normal people will start paying the same prices as Coca-Cola. Essentially, it pisses me off, and I can't justify spending this much. Please share tips on getting protein goals aside from eggs and meat, which I already eat a lot of. Eat more meat. I don't know. Whey can be expensive, but there are way cheaper options. If any of you follow me on my Instagram, I made a video about Lidl. Actually, I'm going to make a full-length video about Lidl for all my Europeans out there. I have no idea. Do y'all have Lidl in America? But Lidl is your way of hitting your protein goals. You can get protein for really cheap. Go check out their dairy aisle. It has some of the craziest finds you can get. Walk through regular grocery store aisles and you'll see how every random shit food now has protein added to it and announced on the front table. Protein added to bread, soft drinks, Pop-Tarts, cereal, pasta, you name it. I have definitely noticed that. They have now protein soda. Who the heck wants to drink soda with protein in it? By the way, most of these protein foods are not actually high protein. They have higher protein than usual, but if you replace 2 grams of protein with 5 grams of protein, it's still not worth buying it for the protein. I generally avoid these protein foods. Here's a simple trick that you can find out if the food that you're buying is actually high protein. Take the 100 grams, the label where it says the 100 grams, check how many calories it is. So let's say It's a food item with 180 calories in it. And it says it has 16 grams of protein in it. The protein number and add a 0 to it is less than the calories in the 100 grams, I would consider it not high protein. So if you, for example, take chicken and say chicken is 100 calories, chicken breast, 100 calories per 100 grams, and has about 21, 22 grams of protein in it, you add a 0 to that, you're left with 220 over 100, high protein food. If anything else says high protein and you realize that if you add a 0 to the protein number and it's less than the calories, you're actually getting most of the calories from other stuff. It's a really basic trick, but it generally works pretty well. You can use that for meat, you can use that for protein products, dairy, stuff like this. If you are buying something for the reason of having the most protein in it, use that equation. You don't need to do that with everything. Not everything actually needs to be protein, extra protein, okay? If you think it's expensive in the States, I'm in Nicaragua and it's $90 for the 2 pounds. Good thing chicken and eggs are cheap here. That is insane. Do people even make $90 a month in Nicaragua? That's crazy! Yeah, in general, weight should anyways be something that you only use if you really can hit your goals. And most of you can hit your goals. Also, some of you guys have some astronomical goals. If you're 200 pounds on the scale, unless you are completely thick skin shredded, you do not need to eat over 200 grams of protein. Can you? Yes. If you eat under it, you're still fine. Nowadays, I keep seeing more and more of this. So many people hold on to Ronnie Coleman saying he ate 500-600 grams of protein a day. Ronnie Coleman was not that big because he ate 600 grams of protein a day, okay? 1.5 weeks out, natural pro qualifier. (2025 to 2026). Is bro natural? Could he be natural? Yeah, for sure. 182 pounds at 5'8". Bro might actually be natural. Sometimes if you just got the right genetics and you got the right work ethic, you can pull out a lot of things. But this is Reddit. What is the deal with Mike Israetel? All right, let's get into that. I used to watch all the fitness and bodybuilding stuff on YouTube years ago. My memory was that he was always widely respected. Coming back into this space again, it seems that that's changed. I'm aware that there was someone who apparently exposed how bad his PhD was, but then he said that it was just an early draft, which I think people don't believe. Is that the only thing, or has there been more too? How well respected is he now? Here's my 2 cents on Mike Israetel. Mike Israetel has a lot of good advice. When it comes to training, a lot of the stuff that Mike Israetel says is worth listening to. Is everything that he says worth listening to? No. Should you listen to him on diet? I don't know about that. Maybe what he teaches about diet is different how he eats himself, because he eats like a little child who just discovered protein. And clearly it's not working for him. At least not with the goal of becoming a professional bodybuilder, that is. Just as a hobby bodybuilder, yeah. I mean, he's a very elite physique in that sense. But in a competitive nature, no. I also think it didn't really fare well about him comparing himself to Mike Mentzer and how he's bigger than Mike Mentzer and stronger than Mike Mentzer and probably smarter than Mike Mentzer, etc., etc. I feel like it didn't do him much good claiming that he has higher IQ and knowledge than almost any coach out there, because for someone that's so high IQ, for someone that is so perfected in the sport of bodybuilding, he sure is really, really good at coming 6th at nationals. Another thing that happened is what you mentioned. Yes, his PhD thesis. I don't even care. I sincerely don't care. If you're anything like me, I don't care if I'm getting advice from a guy that barely got through high school or a guy that's a triple PhD in something. The reality is good advice is good advice is good advice. And waving around a paper or waving around all your like credentials, I don't care. It either works or it doesn't. You either give good advice or you don't. And that pretty much sums it up. With Mike, I'd say his advice, if you take all of his advice, it's probably in like the B tier. There's a lot of stuff that I just don't agree with him, but it doesn't matter because I'm not Mr. PhD. And yes, another thing that happened was, what's his name? Solomon and Greg Doucette. Those two things happened to him. Him constantly arguing with Greg Doucette, I think, is what started the thing, because Greg just wouldn't let go of this man. And I think it's really hard to argue from a position of a PhD against someone who arguably, I don't think, ever missed their peak on stage. Greg Doucette, yeah, hate him or love him, Greg Doucette is one of these people that is always peeled, that just always peaks. That's the one thing that he knows, clearly. Even when I've looked at the clients that he's trained, they're always peaked. So he knows about that. And that's the one thing Mike Israetel cannot do. Don't care how big you are, don't care how strong you are, which you also, from my understanding, Mike Israetel, not that strong for his size. That's besides the point. In general, also it doesn't help that Mike Israetel is such a gooner. Like really, his gooning and his obsession with black genetics, it's just really, really weird. But that's more of an opinion thing. That's not so much of like, oh, is it good or bad advice? I could make a whole separate video about Mike Israetel, and I could make a whole separate video about Greg Doucette. Matter of fact, I'm going to make a separate video on Mike Israetel, and I'm going to make a separate video on Greg Doucette.
And that's it. I could go into heavy detail, and I will go into heavy detail.
I used to watch a lot of his YouTube content also, and I think a part of his downfall started when he began talking trash about other people, bodybuilders, saying things like he's bigger than me. Yeah, exactly. I think so too. I don't care if you're bigger and stronger than Mike Mentzer. You are not Mike Mentzer. Mike Mentzer was a top Olympian. Mike Mentzer was arguably an uncrowned Mr. Olympia. You are not even pro yet. A lot of influencers podcasts inevitably get caught in the new content trap. They rise to popularity with something new, fresh, and insightful, and eventually they start running out of good stuff and start bringing up more fringy, questionable, and recycled nonsense. This happens to all of them. Me? They can't get off the content treadmill. Yeah, but this is also what I realize is that if something like this becomes crucial in your life, and it's not even, I don't earn anything from this. I just hit my first 1,000 views. You know, it's not that easy to just not be on the content wheel. If I post stuff that is like useful information, like stuff about dieting, stuff about training, no one watches that shit. When I posted the Natty or Not on Keon Pearson, it was my most viewed video at the time. Did some more informational videos, no one watches it. Did a Reddit video, over 1,000 views. So, but then he said that it was just an early draft, which I think people don't believe. That's not the case at all. That was a lie he made up with laptop Milo Wolf to weasel himself out of it. They literally made up an academic document which should outright discredit any academic from being taken serious. So it's not just an incompetent grade school level PhD. It's that he is a complete piece of shit with no ethics. Wow. The doctor thing was always a gimmick he used to pass up his shitty opinions as undisputed facts. There you go. The Reddit bandit. Arnold didn't deserve the 1980 Olympian. Why broke Mike Mentzer? Not a Arnold hater, by the way. Guy is the GOAT. But Sydney was a joke, and everyone just kind of memory hold it. All right. Man was 5 years retired, only entered because he already leaning out for Conan anyways. His legs were gone, true. Thighs were soft, yes. Waist wasn't tight. 75. Okay, we're gonna skip over a little bit. Mentor had just gone perfect 300 at the Universe and got second the year before. Showed up in Sydney, absolutely dialed in. It wasn't close. But Arnold being Arnold, he goes into the rules meeting and starts talking trash to the whole group. Mentor sticks up for Boyer Cole, so Arnold turns around and tells him he's got a fat belly. Mentor tries to swing on him and has to get pulled off. Head completely gone before he even hit the stage. And then you look at the panel and it's just his friends, his business partners. Some of them literally end up at his wedding a couple years later. Laugh my ass off. Weeders ran the Fed and wanted Conan on every cover they had. Crowd booed. Zane, Cole, and Mentor all said they weren't coming back. CBS was there filming it and refused to air the thing because their own producers thought it was fixed. That's the part that gets me. The broadcaster looked at it and went, nah. Mentor got fifth. Yeah, that's crazy. Mentor getting fifth in 1980 was crazy. And this broke Mentor. I have a short video about that too. But yes, long story short, Arnold absolutely did not deserve that 1980 win. It was absolutely a fix. I don't think it's even a speculation anymore. I know there's a lot of speculation in bodybuilding about some shows being fixed and being politics and maybe from the countries that some people are from, and that's why they don't get a good positioning. Maybe, but this one was one of the most obvious fixes. And I love Arnold, but yeah, should have been a 6th time and just should have retired when he retired. And these things, Arnold has this tendency of having these like small things. Let me close this. Having these like small things that make you not want to like the guy. Comments he makes, the way that he acts. Heck, even how, like, I understand at the time people were super gassed about him like roasting open bodybuilders who had like bubble guts. I also really hated that era in like the early 2010s, mid 2010s. It looked horrible. But going on stage and asking these guys that clearly can't do a vacuum to do a vacuum just to like mock him, I think Arnold is one of these people that he was a famed celebrity from a very young age. And oftentimes those people, the way I like to say it is that these are the people that never have gotten punched in the mouth before. And that's kind of how he's moved his whole life. And obviously everywhere he goes, everyone praises him as a legend, which he is. But he can be very unlikable at times. Or at least can come off like that. But we love Arnold anyways. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching another Reddit video. This one not so funny, not so entertaining maybe. The bodybuilding subreddit is mostly just physique updates. We can also do physique updates. I just don't know how many people watch it that are like deep bodybuilding fans and how many of you just like dabble in the fitness space. So that bodybuilding stuff might be a little bit boring. So I might start doing 50-50 of content that's very bodybuilding fitness focused and then 50% that's kind of just like fun. We'll see what performs best. We'll see how this Reddit video will do. We'll see how the other Reddit videos, we'll see how the other videos do. Because as I said, I'm just trying to figure out exactly what type of content to make. All of this is fun for me. As long as I can just speak my piece, and if it's about stuff I enjoy, I will do it. It's just good to make content that people will actually watch. But as always, I really appreciate you watching the video. Remember, Flexosaurus Rock on Instagram. Go follow me on there if you are on Instagram. I sometimes post there, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.